weeks ago, Delhi and Washington spoke in one voice that the India-US trade deal was 99% done. Washington wanted speed, Delhi wanted fairness. Then US President Donald Trump threatened new tariffs. India refused to blink and delivered a simple message. No deal is better than a deal. Well, at least that's what a Reuters report claims. The report says that India wants the deal to stay frozen unless Washington gives India a real edge over Vietnam, Bangladesh and China, not just equal treatment. Hear the wording, an edge. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has now refuted the report, calling it baseless and misleading, adding that both India and the United States remain committed to a deal that is balanced and delivers tangible benefits to all. Today, the big question is this: has India's economic confidence changed the negotiating table? And has the US Supreme Court's clampdown on Trump tariffs improved India's negotiating power? Let's break that down. About 2 weeks ago, US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer led his team to Delhi, and both sides declared the bilateral trade agreement 99% finalized.
Very optimistic. Look, we're 99% there. The last 1% we're working on. To put it into perspective, we've been working on this deal for a year and a half. The European Union deal with India took almost 19 years to get done. And so we're very optimistic that this will get done. You have two like-minded partners, the United States and India, that want to get this done.
Then almost immediately after Greer left, India pulled back, saying it wanted a deal that gives it competitive edge over some of the other countries in the region, like Vietnam, like Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, China, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Take a listen to what Piyush Goyal said then.
पहले भी बताया कि हमारा फ्रेमवर्क एग्रीमेंट तो फाइनल हो के अनाउंस भी कर दिया हमने। उसके बाद उनके सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ऑर्डर आया कि वो जो पुराने टैरिफ्स थे उन्होंने रद्द कर दिए। तो जब तक हमें वो कॉम्पिटिटिव एडवांटेज ना मिले, मैंने अभी बहन को जैसा बताया, वो कॉम्पिटिटिव एडवांटेज मिलने पर हम फ्री ट्रेड डील को लागू कर सकते हैं। तो बेसिकली वो पेंडिंग इश्यू मेनली वही है कि कैसे वो सुनिश्चित करेंगे कि हमारी ड्यूटी हमारी स्पर्धा में जो बाकी देश अमेरिका में व्यापार करते हैं उससे कम होनी चाहिए।
Piyush Goyal has since clarified that the India-US trade deal stays on track amid ongoing negotiations between the two countries. Now remember, this negotiation started with real momentum. Talks began in early 2025 following both governments launching Mission 500, a plan to double bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. Both sides initially wanted the first phase of the deal ready by fall of 2025. That deadline came and went. In early February this year, the two countries announced an interim framework, which India's government hailed as a landmark trade victory, claiming it unlocked the $30 trillion US market for Indian exporters. But the actual terms told a different story. India agreed to eliminate or reduce tariffs on all US industrial goods plus a wide range of agricultural products, sectors that India has protected for decades. In return, the US kept the right to apply an 18% reciprocal tariff on Indian goods, nearly 7 times higher than pre-2025 levels. Trump also announced India had committed to halting Russian imports, oil imports actually, in exchange for removing a 25% duty imposed the previous August, specifically over those oil purchases. Then the entire framework got knocked sideways. The US Supreme Court ruled that Trump did not have the legal authority to impose reciprocal tariffs. Under the international emergency economic powers, the same law used to justify tariffs on 57 countries back in April 2025. That ruling sent both governments back to the drawing board. Within weeks, the US Trade Representative opened 2 fresh investigations under Section 301 of America's Trade Act, a law that lets Washington impose tariffs unilaterally. One examines 60 countries over failure to block forced labor goods, with India among the 54 nations facing a potential 10% duty. The second targets structural manufacturing overcapacity across 16 countries, and India is flagged in 7 sectors, including broad categories like construction goods. For India, that's the real problem. Why finalize a deal handing the US new leverage only to watch Washington reach for unilateral tariffs anyway whenever it wants more? India isn't the only side struggling to move this forward. A leaked recording reported by Axios captured Republican Senator Ted Cruz telling donors that J.D. Vance, Peter Navarro, and at times Trump himself were actively resisting a trade deal with India. That internal rift matters. It shows India isn't negotiating with a unified American position. It's negotiating with a White House that's divided over how hard to push. Then on July 11th, Senator Lindsey Graham died suddenly of cardiac arrest at 71, shortly after returning from Ukraine. Graham had spent the past year pushing the Sanctioning Russia Act alongside Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal, threatening tariffs of up to 500% on India, China, and Brazil for continuing to buy discounted Russian oil. Of course, that bill never passed into law during his lifetime, and the 500% figure was never actually imposed, but it remained a live threat hanging over negotiations. One India's External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar, said the country would cross that bridge on if it ever advanced. Now, Graham's death removes the loudest congressional voice pushing that specific threat. It does not resolve the underlying dispute, however, over Russian oil, which remains fully intact. The bottom line is this: India isn't just haggling over tariff percentages anymore. It's watching a US administration that can't agree internally on its own trade strategy, that got its legal authority for tariffs struck down by its own Supreme Court. And that immediately pivoted to newer unilateral tools instead. Goyal's message, or Piyush Goyal said that no deal is better than a bad deal, isn't posturing. It's India refusing to sign away concessions today in exchange for promises that Washington's own courts and Washington's own party can't seem to guarantee will hold tomorrow.
If they had a nuclear weapon,
The old rules are breaking. Alliances are shifting.
Apologise again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Wars are redrawing maps. Oil routes can shake economies overnight. One election in America can impact markets in Mumbai.
no tax on tips.
One move by China can alter the balance in Asia. One conflict in West Asia can hit every Indian household. This is no longer a distant story. This is our story. Your story. Because for the first time in decades, India is not watching from the sidelines. India is rising. India is negotiating. India is balancing rivals. India is building military strength. India is shaping trade routes. India is becoming central to the new global order. And yet, most global news is still told through someone else's lens. Washington's lens, Beijing's lens, London's lens. But where is India's lens? Where is the platform that explains the world from our perspective? Welcome to India's Axis, a new destination for geopolitics, strategy, and power seen through India's eyes. From Neighborhood Watch to the biggest global stories that matter to you. Why tensions in the Taiwan Strait matter to India. How one move by China can affect India's security. What turmoil in Pakistan means for regional stability. How Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan shape India's neighborhood. Why oil choke points can hit your wallet. How wars abroad can reshape India's security. This is not noise. This is not shouting. This is not recycled headlines. This is sharp, intelligent storytelling. Daily explainers, war room analysis, strategic conversations. Because news is everywhere, but perspective is rare, and in the age of confusion, clarity is power. Axis is for the audience that wants more than headlines. The axis of global power is shifting. India is at the center of that shift. It's time the world was explained accordingly. To understand the world, through India's strategic lens. Subscribe now.